In this presentation, you will learn about classical languages, the role of Sanskrit, Prakrit, Pali, and regional languages in building narrative traditions. When we talk about India's cultural and literary heritage, one of the most fascinating aspects is the diversity of languages that shaped its narrative traditions. Stories, poems, plays, and epics were not created in isolation. They were woven into the fabric of society through languages that carried them across regions and generations. Among these, Sanskrit, Prakrit, Pali, and later regional languages played especially important roles. Sanskrit, the language of epics and high literature. Sanskrit is often called classical language of India. It was the medium of some of the greatest epics like the Mahabharata and Ramayana. These texts not only entertained but also passed on moral lessons, cultural values, and philosophical ideas. Sanskrit was also the language of drama, poetry, and philosophy. Because it was linked with religious and scholarly traditions, Hinduism, later Buddhism, and Jainism too, Sanskrit became a prestigious language that shaped high culture. Epics. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are foundational Sanskrit epics. While their core stories were likely transmitted orally, their codified versions in Sanskrit gave them a standardized form and pan-Indian reach, which means they reached across the country. These epics established archetypal characters and moral dilemmas that continue to influence storytelling today. So, the stories of the epics bring out different types of characters, both large and small, as well as talk about the morals that people have to follow in society. And therefore, they are still influential in our lives as well as in storytelling even today. Puranas. These texts, like the Vishnu Purana, are encyclopedic collections of myths, legends, and genealogies. They provided a vast storehouse of mythological narratives that later writers in other languages would draw upon. So these texts basically had a lot of stories which were then adapted to other languages too, from Sanskrit to other local languages. The storylines were the same, but then they were adapted to the local need. Drama. Sanskrit plays, such as those by Kalidas, for example, Shakuntala, used a mix of Sanskrit and Prakrit to reflect social hierarchies. It reflected the society of that time. The main characters would speak in Sanskrit, while women and other caste characters would use Prakrit, highlighting Sanskrit's association with the elite. Prakrit and Pali, languages of the people and philosophers. Prakrit and Pali were a group of languages spoken by the general population. Their less formal structure made them accessible and effective for spread of new ideas and stories to a wider audience. They played a crucial role in making narratives more democratic. Pali was essential for spreading the stories of the Buddha and his teachings across South and Southeast Asia. The Jataka tales, which narrate the previous lives of the Buddha, are a prime example of how Pali was used to create moral and didactic narratives accessible to a broad public. It simply means that the language was easy to use and therefore was used to spread good thoughts, good ideas, and good stories to a large number of people because a large number of people knew the local language, which was Pali. Prakrit. Jainism used various Prakrit dialects like Ardhamagadi to document its teachings and narratives. The stories of the Tirthankaras were preserved in Prakrit texts, ensuring the faith's accessibility. It means that the lives of the Tirthankaras, the religious leaders, were written in Prakrit as the language, and therefore the people could access that information and read about their religious leaders. Prakrit was also used in courtly literature and folk tales, showing its versatility as a medium for both serious and lighter narratives. So, since Prakrit was a common language used by all, it was easy for everyone to get access and therefore to know more about as well as to write about their leaders. Regional languages, the local expression of universal stories. Over time, regional languages like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Marathi, Bengali, and others began to develop their own narrative traditions, often borrowing from Sanskrit, Prakrit, and Pali while adding local flavor. This process led to the creation of unique localized versions of pan Indian narratives. This simply means that because of the adaptation of these languages to the local language, interesting new stories were created related to the local people of India. So each region has its own stories which are unique to that place. Localized epics. The stories of the Ramayana and Mahabharata were reimagined in regional languages. For example, Kamban's Ramavataram in Tamil is a distinct literary work that reinterprets the story with a unique poetic style and cultural content. Similarly, Kritibas Oja's Kritivasi Ramayan in Bengali made the epic relatable to the people of Bengal. So it became more localized to their respective areas. Folk traditions. Regional languages became the primary vehicles for folk narratives, ballads, and oral traditions. These stories, often passed down through generations, captured local legends, heroes, and cultural values that were not found in the more formal classical texts. So, folk stories began to be narrated to the people in the area in their own local language. These folk stories taught them good values, good manners, and ways to live peacefully in society. Bhakti movement. The word bhakti simply means devotional. So, the devotional movement or the bhakti movement utilized regional languages extensively because the best way to reach out to people is through the regional language. So, the bhakti movement used the regional language. Poets and saints like Tulsidas, who used Avadi, which is a language or a dialect of Hindi. Then we have Surdas, who used Brij Bhasha, and Dhyaneshwar, who used Marathi. All of them wrote hymns and narratives that connected directly with the spiritual and emotional lives of common people, making complex religious ideas simple and personal. So they taught the people how to devote themselves to their respective gods. The journey of Indian narrative traditions is a story of collaboration and transformation. Sanskrit provided a foundational repository of grand myths and philosophical ideas. So, in simple words, Sanskrit provided the stories of the epics and the myths, as well as philosophical ideas in a very fancy, high manner. Prakrit and Pali democratized these narratives, making them accessible to a wider population and spreading new religious philosophies. So, if we have seen in the presentation that Prakrit and Pali were the local languages, so therefore everybody was able to understand the epics as well as Buddhism and Jainism, which was spread in the local languages, Prakrit and Pali. Regional languages brought these stories home, infusing them with local customs, folklore, and a personal touch, ensuring their enduring relevance. Now, the regional languages made it more popular among the people because they adapted to the local customs, the local traditions, and therefore it was more relatable for the people. Together, these languages created a vibrant, multi-layered, and endlessly evolving narrative tradition that continues to thrive today. We all know that we still know about these stories. Our parents will still narrate these stories. You are still learning about the values of those old times in class today, and therefore they are still relevant to us even today. Thank you for watching the presentation. To like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this topic or any other topics you would like to learn more about.